Saturday night with my co-host, Main Event Mike. This is Kneecap's Main Event, where we are just going to discuss Lions, let you boys and the girls in the chat come and make your comments, but it's just us talking Lions football. There's no Vikings, there's no fucking Packers, there's no fucking Bears. How you doing, Main Event Mike?
I'm doing so great, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I think this is going to be a good platform where we could just bullshit and talk shit and have fun.
One pride, baby. I'm down.
Yeah. So that being said, I'm going to put your topic up. Go ahead and read it off.
Oh, you didn't tell me reading was involved. Which NFL had the best offseason and why was it the Detroit Lions? And you're kicking this one over to me. Hey, it was the Detroit Lions, but you know what? Only by a nose to me. Those pesky Seattle Seahawks. They had a great offseason. They had great free agency acquisitions. I thought they killed the draft 2 years in a row. They were our nemesis last year. They beat us in a shootout 48-45. And Jeremy, their punter never came on the field in that game. And we lose 48-45. They end up beating us. And with the same record, they make the playoffs and we don't. And we get revenge again week 2 to try to avenge that loss. But I think as good as the Lions got better, Seattle got better too. But I have to give it, to stay on topic, I have to give the edge to the Lions. And CJ Gardner-Johnson is the reason why. It was only a 1-year deal, but the guy is an all-world safety. He also could play nickel. And that is the signing, I think, that puts us over the top and puts us past all the other NFL teams, including the Seattle Seahawks. If you just add Cam Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley, Graham Glasgow, David Montgomery, they already had the best free agency class. When you look at their draft, were the only team to have 5 draft picks in the top 50. No other team even had 4. Okay, so by far and away, free agency and the draft, the Lions come out ahead of every other NFL team, in my biased opinion. And then when you look at what they did for undrafted free agencies, they brought in guys like Mohamed Ibrahim, who easily could have been drafted in the 3rd round for a team that was looking for a running back. To get that kind of value in undrafted free agents is great. And just to be able to lure guys like that here, I think that also gives them an edge over some of the other teams. When I was looking at the UDFA lists of some of these other teams, a bunch of nobodies, and the Lions seem to do pretty well.
But you also have to add in Brandon Joseph to that, because he was the 3rd best safety on the board behind Brian Branch. I don't know how he fell all the way to UDFA, and JL Skinner, who was dropping like a rock, got drafted before him.
Yeah. That's just another great example. I mean, that's a guy that legitimately could make this team, and you can never have enough secondary players. And when you look at free agency, it was definitely the weak spot of the Detroit Lions last year. Okay, we had a lot of 1st and 2nd year players that were coming up with sacks, but we didn't get any coverage sacks, because our DBs were getting burned left and right. Mike Hughes is gone. Owarie is gone. Okuda gone. And every one of those guys were replaced with an upgrade. And then you add guys like Joseph and UDFA, just adds to it. Brian Branch. I mean, just they loaded they took a weakness and made it a strength. And I think that's going to bode very well for them this year.
And actually getting a middle linebacker.
Yeah, a real little middle linebacker. I love the pick of Jack Campbell. We are here at the Main Event. We love the Jack Campbell pick. My producer, Russell Wayne's ready to fit him for a gold jacket already.
I know. I heard that when I talked to him the other day. I was like,
Go ahead. Tell him to pump the brakes. We love that. Slow your roll. We're Lions fans, brother. We're not slowing nothing.
Well, I agree with you. I believe it's Lions, Eagles, 49ers, Chiefs in order on who had the best offseason. Everybody else kind of just was middling. You can switch them from 5 to 32.
Yeah. I really like
I have to take that back. The Packers kind of had an awful offseason.
Well, they didn't do it. That's their MO, though. They draft and develop. They don't do a lot in free agency. Neither do the Dallas Cowboys. They're notorious for it, for not making big free agency splashes. But, Green Bay got a very solid run game, 8 first-round draft picks on the defense. So I just don't think they're deep enough. There's no depth behind those 8 draft picks, so we can drag them out to the deep water like we did last year.
I have them second best running back duo in the NFC North.
Oh, in the division.
The Packers, yes.
Okay, well, I'm not that much of a homer. I got to give them the best running tandem in the division.
All right, we're going to address the comments right now. Pat Rothwell says, how are you guys doing tonight? I'm doing fantastic. Anytime I'm talking Lions football, and with a guy like Main Event Mike, how can you not have fun? Brandon Q says, what's up, Pete? And Facebook user says, good evening, guys.
Yeah. Randy, I love that comment. They completed the mission. Double up on our weakest area, cornerback, running back, and linebacker. Exactly what we're just saying. Absolutely. I mean, let's face it, Brad Holmes is a genius, right? This guy is by far the best GM we've ever had, and only a 2-year sample size and only 12 wins to show for it. But we are addicted to hopium as Lions fans, and this guy's got us all feeling it.
And the crowd likes it too.
Laugh track, right.
It sounded just like the Sanford and Son laugh track, didn't it?
You big dummy.
And they love MCDC. We do love MCDC. I mean, it's the reason I created this podcast. Got another hey fellas up there.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Detroit shirt in honor.
I got mine too.
I got the kneecap biters.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. I just wore my Detroit Lions in honor of you because you are the main event, and the Lion has a main.
That's right.
That being said, we're going to go on to our next topic, which is the smoking hot topic number 1. The NFL, ESPN, and CBS all say the Lions won the draft, but none of them gave them a grade on their sites higher than a B-. Do you agree or disagree, Main Event Mike?
If you'd asked me on draft day, I would have agreed. But in retrospect, and after hearing Brad Holmes talk and really digesting what they did, and when we see how the draft was going to fall, and he was proactive and he was preemptive, and he beat other teams to the punch all the way through the draft. He did this. I mean, we were a little shocked to not see him. I mean, let's look at the players they could have had, right? Bijan Robinson, Jalen Carter, Quentin Johnson, not Devin Witherspoon, but he's the one, I believe, that the Lions might have taken at 6 rather than trade out. But who beat us to it? Those pesky Seahawks, who we were just talking about.
That secondary got a lot better with him.
Yeah, so they might have taken him and stayed at 6, but they just got value up and down the board. Brian Branch, they totally fleeced the Packers on that one. I think the Packers were somehow convinced the Lions weren't going to go safety, and they reached right up there and took the pick away from it. That was a thing of beauty. And I do not agree now with that B- grade. The Lions got a solid A, and there's no other way around it.
I had it at A- B+ area, and that was right after the draft, and I still stand by that because I just think it's real hard to give everybody an A or an A+, no matter how good their draft is, because you haven't seen it on the field, and we know the bust rate of first-round picks.
You're right. And there are relatively, Bill Polian said the other day, there are relatively only 18 prospects that are first round graded on anyone's board at any time. So anything beyond pick 18 is basically a second round player. And it's just, what flavor ice cream do you like? And it's subjective at that point. So I don't think there's any question the Lions crushed the draft, though. I mean, you can say what you want about taking a running back too early. But the consensus is in now. The Patriots were going to take Jahmyr Gibbs at 14. And when they didn't, and when the Lions took him at 12, they immediately traded back and allowed the Steelers to come in and screw the Bears.
And that was awesome. And other than that, you have to remember, Tampa Bay said they were taking Jack Campbell, the Bucks. Tampa Bay was one pick behind us at 19. They said, oh shit, they didn't go Elijah Canty. We'll grab him. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in all actuality, those were the best 2 defensive players on the board at that time, in my opinion.
What does Ranning Q say here? He's saying yes on draft day only, day 1. Do you think he's saying? You think he's saying that the grade for day 1, or is he saying that he doesn't really think that we did well on day 2 and 3, which I really think we did?
Yeah, he says overall it's a B plus for him. You won't really know till they play. I say no draft should be graded until 3 years in, because
Right.
that's when you know who's bust, who's good, who's not. And let's look, we're going into year 3 of the first. Now, this is something I wrote about draft positional value. I said, if all of you Lions fans, if they'd have flipped who they picked in order, if it had been at 12 Hendon Hooker, at 18 Brian Branch, at 34 would not have changed. You see what I'm saying?
No, we wouldn't be having this discussion because
Right.
of positional value. And you could even flip that around if you take Brian Branch at 12. Okay, right?
Either
And
Branch
Hendon
or
Hooker at
Hooker at
18.
12.
We're
Either
not
way.
having this conversation. But
Right. And
that's
you know what
where,
everybody would have
and
said?
that's why I didn't agree with it on draft day because I believe what the internet tells me, like everyone else, right? So Brad Holmes told us though in his post presser that we don't have all the information like he does, and he knows.
Exactly.
He knew that if you want Jahmyr Gibbs, you get him now, because the guys we really want are going to be back here when we want them anyway. And they knew, and this guy, I have nothing but faith. He's proven it. And like you said, if you grade our drafts 3 years from now, the last 2 drafts that Brad Holmes did, it's going to be historic.
Mm-hmm. And Patty Grimes asked if you were my brother.
I don't see that one.
I don't. It already scrolled by.
No, but we're from the same hometown.
Yes, we are. We're all from Flint. And his buddy that does his show with him, Russell Wayne, he's also from Flint.
Not originally. He's actually from Ohio.
Right.
He's a Buckeye.
Oh, he's a Suckeye.
He's a Buckeye fan too, buddy. Big time.
I
Big
know.
time. You got a Wolverine and a Buckeye fan with a podcast. Something's going to happen.
Right here it is. Is this your brother? And we really won't know till they play, of course.
Well, all right, Patty. Patty was born in Flint too.
How many games do the Lions win, Jeremy? How many UDFA make the team or the practice squad? 13 will make the practice squad, minus a couple of vets that'll go there. I think Chase Lucas will end up on the practice squad because of the depth that we have at cornerback and safety. Ife Melifonwu may end up there too. So that's 2 spots gone, which leaves 11.
Right.
I think Brandon Joseph may actually make the team. You know who
the Lions can only protect 6, if I'm not mistaken.
Can only protect 6, and they have to change after 4 weeks, which means they either have to be called up or they hit waivers. Isn't that how that worked last year? That's how we lost some players in the
correct.
The
Correct, and we were very fortunate that nobody poached James Houston. He might have been one of those protected guys, though.
He what that was is we didn't protect him at first, and when the injuries started piling, they said, "Oh yeah, you're protected." You're my bitch.
So Pat's question is to you, Jeremy. How many games do you think the Lions will win?
I think the floor is 10. I have the window of wins at 10 to 13. I actually think they go 11-6.
11-6.
That's what I'm going as my actual final prediction. I am betting the over. I am going to do my 4-game parlay on the NFC North. I think I'm going over on the Lions and under on everybody else.
Wow. I also have the Lions winning 11 games, but I think it easily could go the other way, and I like the way the schedule lays out for us to possibly win 12 or 13 games.
Yeah, and that's why I did that. 10 to 13 was my window of wins, because there's no way we don't win one more than we did last year.
Right, the team is just better. But on the flip side, other teams have gotten better as well.
Yeah, that may be, but did they get as good?
Right.
It's the level of better you got, and that's what we didn't see out of the only team. The most improved team in the NFC North isn't even the Lions, unfortunately. It's the Bears. People can say what they want. The Bears quietly had a very good offseason, but I still don't think it's enough to win the division. I think it's enough to get them 7 to 8 games.
They better had a good offseason. They had $1 gazillion and the number 1 pick. Okay, but did they do enough? They're not deep enough. They had way too many holes. I mean, they might be improved, but they just don't have enough team around Justin Fields, and he might have to be the sacrificial lamb for it.
Here's another one. What guy will shock the most to make the 53-man roster, do you think? The last UDFA signed, because he came out of a Division III GLIAC school right here in Michigan, Trevor Nowaski, linebacker. If he makes the team, that'll be shocking. That means either Derek Barnes, Pittman, or whoever is jettisoned.
Yeah. For me, it's Shane Zylstra.
I-
Because with James Mitchell, Brock Wright, now Sam Laporta, you've also got Kabinda. One of those two guys have to go. Kabinda or Zylstra has to go. And Kabinda's a friend of the show, the main event, so we're not going to pick him. We're going to pick Shane Zylstra as the guy. I'll be shocked if he makes the 53-man roster. I know Dan Campbell loves him, but there seem to be pretty deep in that room now.
And also, David Montgomery, I heard, has been practicing blocking.
He was already a great blocking back.
No, for run blocking, which means that he might be out there at the same time as Gibbs, which means you don't know where that damn ball's going.
I would love to see that. You hardly ever see a backfield anymore, a pro form or an I formation. You don't see it anymore. And, so many running back by committees and rotating fresh legs in and out. I would love to see that and a return to a lead blocker. I would love that.
I wouldn't even mind seeing occasionally the full house system. And everybody says, oh, you want to go back to college, Bo Schembechler days. No, it's different. Nobody runs it now. It's surprise. You go to that 3-back system and you have like James Mitchell back there doing the traditional fullback off to the right, Jahmyr Gibbs in the far back, and David Montgomery to the left. Pick your poison.
Right. And wait till JMO comes back from the suspension.
And let's not forget, we got the human Swiss Army knife in the UDFAs of Katoan Thompson out of Virginia, who started as a quarterback, then moved to halfback, then moved to fullback because he started to get bigger, then moved to tight end, and then eventually, because he was just fast enough, to be wide receiver for him. That's a hell of a Swiss Army knife on offense.
Right.
All right, let's get to your next.
We got a lot of optimistic Lion fans in the comments tonight.
Yeah,
11 wins, 12 wins, even 13 wins.
Yep.
We're all addicted to hopium. Here.
All right, main event topic number 2. Thoughts on the Lions schedule. Do you like it or not?
I actually do, Jeremy. I love it, in fact. And there are so many reasons that are being floated around the internet of why this is a good schedule layout for the Detroit Lions in 2023. And I will tell you, we'll just briefly skip over all the regular narratives, and then I'm going to tell you what I discovered yesterday in preparing for the show as I just started to research this topic. Obviously, they like the schedule because the Lions don't play only one cold weather game, and that's in Chicago in Week 14. Okay. A lot of people like the schedule because our division isn't that strong. We were 5-1 against the division last year, and almost all of our division games, all but one, are in the second half of the season. We also like that the bye is Week 9, right in the middle of the season, right? And I personally love going to Kansas City in Week 1. Okay, you want to pencil that in as an L for the Lions? You go right ahead. I don't blame you there. They are the champs. However, everybody's got Kansas City on the schedule this year in the NFC North. And if we're going to catch them, I want to catch them in Week 1 when they're all feeling happy, got their Super Bowl rings, and nobody sees us coming. There's no tape on Jahmyr Gibbs yet. There's no tape on Sam Laporta. They don't know what Ben Johnson's new wrinkles in this offense are going to be. So I like Kansas City first, but here we go. You want to comment on that, Jeremy, before I tell you the number one reason I like this Lions schedule?
I'll tell you my number one reason. There is not 3 road games in a row anywhere on it.
That's right.
And also, it's the 9th most rest days, which has been the best 2 years of scheduling for rest days for the Lions that I can ever remember. The team that has the least amount of rest was the team that went to the NFC Championship and lost last year, the San Francisco 49ers. And with an injured quarterback and everything they got going on, that does not bode well for them.
Right. But here's something that people aren't talking about this schedule, Jeremy. I'm going to tell you something that I have observed over the last couple of years. And that is that teams that are young start slow, right? We've seen this with the Detroit Lions, one of the youngest teams in the league. Last year, they finished with a flurry, winning 8 out of 10. The year before that, they finished well in the second half because the game starts to slow down for the young players, right? They start to get their footing. And then the older players, they start to run out of gas at the end of the year as well. They've been run over by a car 15 weeks in a row. So it gets very hard for them to keep pulling their butt out of bed and get to practice and operate at a high level. So the youth translates to a slow start. And if you look at the teams that finished last year strong, they are also the youngest teams in the league: Detroit, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, and Kansas City. The youngest 4 teams in the league all finished strong last year. And if you look at our schedule, all the hard stuff's really front loaded. So as the game starts to slow down for the Lions, they're going to have another strong back half of the season as their new rookie class starts to get gelled, and these second-year players are going to be hitting their stride right after the bye. I think after the bye week, starting in week 10, the Lions go on a tear, possibly win out from week 10 on, and call me a homer. Because I just love the way the schedule, and this is just another thing. The youth movement, I think it plays in our favor with the schedule layout.
In all actuality, whether they're young or not, the last 5 years in a row, Kansas City has never been above 500 through their first 6 games. And they're 1-5 in their first game of the season.
Great point. See, they were a young team, and it took them a while. If you're going to catch a young team, let's catch them at the beginning of the year. And now they've gotten rid of Juju Smith-Schuster. Who's catching the ball? Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney? Marquez Valdez-Scantling? Outside of Travis Kelce, they have no one that scares me. No one. What do we got in comments?
Okay.
Pat Rockwell says, show is awesome. Do you think she said the Loins, or he said the Loins are going to sign a veteran QB, but we knew you meant Lions. Yep. Sign a veterans QB like Teddy Bridgewater or someone else? That's a great question. What do you think, Jeremy?
I think they will either go like Teddy B, and as much as it will be to the chagrin of most Lions fans, I think the other option, believe it or not, is Matt Ryan. And the only reason why I say that, Teddy B would be what we might see when Hendon Hooker gets healthy. But Matt Ryan is a less athletic Jared Goff. So either way you go, it's not a bad decision to put one of them on your roster. And Matt Ryan, at his age, and he knows he'll be a backup here because Goff is the starter, he will be taking a lesser contract.
Yeah. Did you watch any of the Indianapolis Colts last year?
Yeah, he was horrible.
Yeah, he can stay in retirement or stay in the booth, whatever. He would be retired, Jeremy. But you know why he's not retired? Because the Colts owe him $12 million. And if he files his retirement papers, then they won't have to pay that. So you can bet your ass that he's not going to retire. He's going to get that $12 million.
We could probably sign him for $1 million.
If we do, to answer the question that Pat gave us, if they do sign a veteran quarterback, I think Nate Sudfeld is out. Heck yeah, let's take Teddy Bridgewater instead of Nate Sudfeld. Nate Sudfeld's had a couple of victory plays and one play other than that in his entire career. So I'll absolutely take Carson Wentz, Teddy Bridgewater, Case Keenum, any of those guys, Colt McCoy, any veteran backup I will take. It'll be great. None of them are as good as Jared Goff, so I don't think there's any pressure there. Andy Dalton, come on with it. Whoever it's going to be, you can take Sudfeld out, put that guy in, and I'll feel great about it.
I definitely don't want the beige water pistol because if Jared Goff gets hurt at playoff time, we don't win a game.
Say that again?
The beige water pistol, Andy Dalton.
Oh, the red rifle?
The beige water pistol.
No, the Andy Dalton will probably be starting in Carolina if unless Bryce Young makes it out of the preseason.
He would start in Tampa Bay over Baker Mayfield too.
Not on my team. I like Baker.
I like Baker to ride the bench.
He's a gamer.
I know. I like.
He's got moxie.
Nate, Hooker, and Martinez. We are good. No, Martinez is god awful. Anybody that likes Martinez, you have bumped your head.
Well, have you seen his sister?
His sister's hot, but he's not. Only I'd take his sister,
I
but
like
not
that.
him.
I like that take though by Ranning Q. Nathan Hooker and Martinez were good behind Goff. One of Martinez is on the practice squad. He's also a running style quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. So that might be great for the scout team, right? For the Lions to practice against Justin
The,
Fields twice a
the,
year.
the problem is he tends to throw to the other color jersey a lot, and as far as ball security, he makes Jared Goff look like Barry Sanders. And he doesn't have small hands, so that's not the issue.
Well, Jared Goff lost 4 fumbles last year, so
Total.
I think you got a
total.
point there. You got a point.
Aiden Martinez had 21 fumbles and 16 loss with Kansas State his senior year. He also threw 32 interceptions.
What? 32 interceptions? That can't be right.
Yeah, he had 51 touchdowns and almost as much in turnovers.
Holy moly.
Yeah, I pay attention to stats. Even in college, because they make it.
Matt also says, I love the dude Thompson out of Virginia, Jeremy. You're 100% correct.
Yeah, he is. He is the Swiss Army knife for offense, and that's why I think he will make the practice squad 100%. Antoine Green, very unheralded, was supposed to be like a 4th or 5th round pick. The fact that we got him in the 7th, that's huge because he's 4.3 speed. What did we not have for the first 6 games?
Deep threat.
What is Antoine Green?
He is a deep threat. He averaged 19 yards per carry, which was per reception, which is one of the tops in the country. What I really like about him is Dre Bly, being his former coach there at North Carolina, and Dre Bly now being the cornerbacks coach here. I'm 100% convinced that Dre Bly had a lot of input on that pick, 7th round. Probably vouched for the kid. They worked together extensively at UNC. So, the familiarity, and that's another thing that's breeding here in Detroit is that familiarity. CJ Gardner-Johnson, familiar with Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell, and Alex Anzalone with his time in New Orleans. You've got a lot of familiarity. Cam Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley played together in college. And all these things are what make a great team, chemistry. And those are the things you can't coach. And all the stars seem to be aligning. And, I'd like to pose a question to your viewership. Does anybody else feel it? And I want to ask you this too, Jeremy. Do you feel it? Do you feel like in 84 when the Tigers went to the World Series, or in 2002 when the Red Wings won the Cup, there's something in the air. It feels like the stars are lining up. And if they start 0-6, I'll look like an idiot for that comment, I'm sure.
Me too.
But I'm telling you, it feels like something special is happening here.
I feel like we're winning at least 2 playoff games, and if we make the NFC Championship, I'm going streaking.
Wow. That take brought to you by the Homer Depot.
Yes, sir. What do you think of my revenge? Lions versus Baltimore, Dallas, Carolina, and Seattle?
Yeah, it's a great call, Patty. I got to go with the Seattle being the biggest one. Carolina, in the minds of the players, however, is probably the most demoralizing defeat they had last year. It was over by halftime. In fact, it was the worst half of football I've seen since God knows. I mean,
the Patriots.
We've seen some bad teams, and that was a very bad half of football. Lions actually outgained Carolina in the second half, but no one talks about that because the first half was so bad. And let's face it, they were manhandled on the offensive line and defensive line. And our offensive line is what we consider a strength. We hang our hat on that. And they manhandled us. And I think the players are targeting that game as a big revenge game. But for me, it's Seattle all the way. All we needed was one stop. One stop.
In either that game or the Philly game.
Well, 38-35 in that game. And, we knew coming in that Philadelphia was going to have a great team. We didn't think they'd go 11-0, obviously. But that one didn't hurt so bad to lose. But that Seattle game, because nobody at that time believed in Geno Smith. Nobody knew what Geno Smith was going to do.
The bad part is we did get a stop. But because of some stupid play clock rule, it got called back. They reran it and scored a touchdown.
Yep.
There was one stop, and that's the difference in that game. And no, everybody can tell me what you want. I was there watching the game, and I was like, okay, it's almost halftime. We got the ball back. I can go have a cigarette. I walk out. By the time I got out to the smoking area, they scored the touchdown. I was like, what the hell happened?
Hmm.
Because I was like, okay, we'll just run out the clock.
We have one Facebook user who agrees that they think this is also going to be a very special season. Well, I'm glad I'm not alone, and I don't feel like such a dweeb now, because I'm telling you, it feels so right. All the stars are aligning.
I think this is going to be very similar for us as Lions fans as the 2006 Tigers fans.
Ooh, that one's still painful.
Yeah, but we made it all the way to what?
The World Series.
Which
Lost
is the equivalent of what?
The Super Bowl.
And we lost bad, right?
We did.
And that wasn't
but
the
it could be 2012 Tigers, where we got the best rotation in the history of baseball, and we lose in the championship game to the Red Sox.
The sixth linebacker that makes the team is either going to be Derek Barnes or Trevor Nowaski. If Nowaski beats out Barnes, it's over, because Pittman's going to be gone. There's no way Pittman makes his team. He may be okay on special teams, but we got guys that are good on special teams that can take his place.
We do, but we lost C.J. Moore in the gambling scandal, and that really hurt. He was special teams ace, and I really look at a guy like Pittman as a guy who can fill that hole.
Just before that news broke, who did the Lions re-sign that we hadn't had?
Marvin Jones. That's correct.
Oh, for 2 years prior to that played special teams and linebacker. Who did we sign?
Reeves Maben. Yep. Reeves Maben could also fill that role C.J. Moore left behind.
Yes.
Well, you got some good commenters here, Jeremy. These guys have great takes. Facebook user says, hot take, Lions compete with Vikings for the North for the division this year. I think the Vikings come in last, Facebook user. That's my opinion.
I think they'll get third. I think last will be the Packers. The Cheeseheads are going down.
And Patty Grimes has a great question here. If Lions make it to the NFL championship, I'm assuming you mean the NFC championship, and lose, is that a great season?
It's a great season compared to what we just had.
Well, it means we won the division probably.
Mm-hmm. And we won at least one, if not two, playoff
to the championship game, we had to at least win two.
Facebook user cut Alex Anzalone.
Why would you cut your leading tackler from last year?
I wouldn't cut
a guy that wears a green dot.
Nope. You can't cut a guy that wears the green dot, but Jack Campbell may be wearing that green dot because he is a leader of men from where he came from. There's a chance.
Maybe Alex Anzalone had 145 tackles last year.
And he still had a 17.6 missed tackle rate.
Okay, yeah, I've seen him whiff a few, but they love him. He's got a great rapport with the coaches. He's got a great skill set. He just overruns plays a bit, and those are things they can fix.
Randon Q says third Chicago, fourth Green Bay, second Minnesota. I think second may be the Bears. As much as I hate to say it, they got better on defense and Minnesota got worse.
Yeah. Jordan Love is the
Brent DeWitt's right. Brent DeWitt is right in line with me. Lions, Bears, Vikings, Packers. And I think that's where you were at, right?
I have the Vikings coming in last in the division because they've lost so many good players. Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins is not enough to carry the whole team. Brian Flores is what they're counting on. We talk a lot of trash on Mondays, and those Viking fans are in witness protection. They're not even out talking about it.
They don't even show up. I know. This would be a great time to bring Sue home. He still has enough in the tank that could teach Martin how to be a dog. If Goff starts out bad, how long before they go Hendon Hooker? Hendon Hooker is going to be basically a redshirt freshman this year. If he sees the field, I'll be pissed. I think Jack Campbell could be wearing that green dot by halfway point of the season with Anzalone bounced to outside linebacker. God, I hope not. He's not fast enough. Luckiest team in the world, Minnesota. Will Julian Okwara be gone? No, because he's on that rookie contract. Wasn't he a second or late second, early third round pick?
I don't know about Julian. Romeo was.
No, Romeo.
I got it backwards. Yeah, Julian was a second round pick, wasn't he?
Yeah, so the dead cap will be still too high at year 3.
Boy, you got some good comments here. Our good friend Big Dan Davis, the man knows his Lions football. I think Jack Campbell could be wearing that green dot by the halfway point of the season with Anzalone bounced to outside linebacker. I'm 99% sure that is the plan, Big Dan. And Malcolm Rodriguez swapping in and out of there as well on rotational situations.
If you remember that 4-2-5,
right?
Every that we were running last year, every now and then it had a weird 3-4 or 4-3 underlook because they would take one of those linebackers and move him up to the line. James Houston.
Right. Because they didn't have a true jack linebacker, right? I
Right.
mean, they had defensive ends. And James Houston's probably the closest thing to that.
Is Jamison Williams the next guy the Lions drafted like the wide receiver? No. He's not injured. It was a suspension.
Oh, are we talking about Charles Rogers? Oh, ye of the glass collarbone?
Ye of the glass body and smoker of Big Herb.
Tagging on needed?
Yeah.
Is James Williams the next guy the Lions drafted like the wide receiver Michigan State years ago? I'm assuming that person means is he going to be a bust? No. We shall wait and see.
You can't call a guy a bust till after year 3. And technically, Okudah wasn't a bust because he only had a year and a half of games under his belt. He wasn't developed properly by the first crew he had for the 10 games he was here.
Well, so he was busted enough to not give a 5th-year option.
Right. I understand getting rid of him because he was not a Brad Holmes or Dan Campbell guy.
That's a great point. And Jamison Williams is. So right. I do not think he ends up like Charles Rogers. I think they're going to put him in the best position to succeed. However, I mean, Charles Rogers was a pretty great player. It was just injury that derailed him, right? I mean, you have a broken collarbone. He looked good when he was playing, when he was on the field. So if Jamison Williams turns out to be as good as Charles Rogers skill-wise, we're going to be in great shape.
Yep. Facebook user says, excited to see how improved the secondary helps the pass rush. Also, Houston's growth. This season will be huge for Goff. Any regression, it has to be Hooker next year. So excited to see a dual threat QB behind this O-line. Give me your Lions breakout player on each side of the ball if you had to pick one. Well, as much as I hate to say it, you guys are sleeping on Broderick Martin needing to be taught how to play like a dog. Because if you actually go back and find the closed caption or closed circuit TV footage from when he was at Northern Alabama, he actually played D end and D tackle and was much more of a pressure guy. Because when they lined him up at D end with his frame, he was able to bowl over tackles. So he can play inside and out. The only reason why he played nose tackle at Western Kentucky is because he was the only guy plus 300 and they ran a 3-4 defense.
Well, for me, for breakout player, I'm going to vote for Josh Paschal. 2nd round pick, finally coming back. Going to have a full off season. I think he's poised to make a splash. In fact, if he's not the breakout player on defense, we got a problem. And on offense, for a breakout player, I'm going to go Sam Laporta. I think the way Ben Johnson uses his tight ends, I think that they're going to scheme for this guy. He's an explosive weapon in the passing game. And I think he's really going to be TJ Hawkinson, younger, faster, and cheaper.
But he's not expected to block because TJ Hawkinson couldn't.
Right. If I'm good enough.
All right. Malik says B. Martin is going to be solid from the start. Okay, one more question. Tell me who's going to be the 6th wide receiver to start the season. Any chance Tom Kennedy is going to make it? I don't think Tom Kennedy can stay unless we sign him to the. Did we re-sign him? He had to re-sign him because it was his last year. Last year was his last year of eligibility on the practice squad.
Right, but we don't have to waive him yet. So
right.
If he clears waivers, I believe he comes back and makes it on the practice squad at least. They love him. He's gritty. What's not to love? The guy's great. He's so gritty. I think a guy like Tom Kennedy, if you put him in New England in the slot, he could start and be Danny Amendola. He could, I'm not going to say Julian Edelman, but he could be Danny Amendola.
He could be like Wes Welker the first year he showed up.
Yeah.
I'm just saying because Wes Welker wasn't great. He was just good that year. Remember?
Yeah. So So count them off then. Who's the wide receiver? Starting depth wide receivers. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously. You
Jameson
got to
Williams.
count Jameson, right? You got to count Josh Reynolds.
Did we? Oh yeah, he's on the last year of his contract.
Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones.
There's 4. Khalif Raymond. There's 5.
And
Now
Antoine Green.
Antoine Green.
It's either going to be Antoine Green, Peyton Thompson, or the guy none of us is talking about, Chase Costas out of Oregon, the UDFA.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those 3. But right now, you got to give the edge to Antoine Green because he was drafted.
Right. I know who it's not going to be. Stanley Berryhill. That's who.
It's not going to be Quintez Cephas either.
It's not going to be Quintez Cephas. Call me crazy. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the next Alvin Kamara. That's a great take. His game is a lot like Alvin Kamara. A typical Alvin Kamara stat line is 60 yards rushing, 60 yards receiving, 70 yards receiving, 10 carries, 10 receptions. That if we could use Jahmyr Gibbs with a Kamara stat line, that would be amazing.
And 3 scores.
And 3 touchdowns in the boot. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I hope you're right there. I think that's a great call out.
And Brent DeWitt, I get Lem Barney vibes from Kirby. Will he make the Pro Bowl? Eventually he will. Is Galladay going to make a comeback to Detroit? God, I hope not. I mean, they paid him $38.6 million for 5 catches and 0 touchdowns.
Yeah. I think Galladay never plays another down for the Detroit Lions. I'll be surprised if that happens. I do like this question about Kirby Smart though. Kirby Smart. Kirby Joseph.
Terminator.
Kirby Joseph. It's tough in the NFC to make it as a safety. It's a loaded position. I mean, now that Jalen Ramsey's not here anymore, he was a corner anyway. But I mean, you got Julian Love now went over to those damn Seahawks. There's a lot of good safeties in this division. I think Jaquan Brisker is a very good young safety there in Chicago.
Lewis
I mean, but you know what, Kirby, absolutely. If he has another year like last year, he'll be on his way to that.
How big of a year for this is for Dan Campbell on a scale of 1 to 10? I'm going to give it a 9, a solid 9, because that's how many wins he had last year. And the only way it's going to get to a 10 is if he makes it and we win a couple playoff games. Galladay will be in the XFL. There, he'd probably be fantastic because I've watched a couple of their games and they cover worse than our secondary did to start the season.
So the question is, how big of a year is this for Dan Campbell on a scale from 1 to 10? So if that scale means is his job in jeopardy? No, I don't think so at all. Is the pressure on him to perform on a scale from 1 to 10? Will it cause friction? I'm going to give that a 6. You know why? Because he's got a 6-year contract. And he's changed the culture in this town. And even if we are a 7 or 8 win team or 9 win team again, he's still done enough to keep his job for next year already. So I'm going to say it's no panic button here for Dan Campbell, in my opinion.
Ranting Q says the original 20, Lem Barney. That's a tough man to follow for Kirby Joseph. You want to know whose career path he's on right now? A touch slower, but because players play longer. How many interceptions did he have last year? He had 4 alone versus Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
3 in the first game and 1 in the last, right?
No, I think your numbers are a bit off there. I know he had a 1 and then a scoop and score, and then 2 interceptions against Aaron Rodgers. So I think he had 4 interceptions total last year.
I thought it was 4. He had 4 against Aaron Rodgers alone. 2 was in the red. 2 was in the red zone. 1 to him, 1 to Hutchinson. He had 2 in that first game. Aaron Rodgers threw a lot of picks, and Kirby Joseph was the best receiver for him with 3 catches.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers was so frustrated. He was on the sidelines. He threw his helmet.
I remember.
And Kirby Joseph intercepted it.
Yeah, I saw that before it hit the ground. Eagles will suck this year. They have Matty Patricia, and they do. Matt Patricia is their defensive coordinator assistant.
I love that take. How long before Matt Patricia is a cancer and costs Philadelphia? I love that.
The implosion's already started. You heard who asked for a trade, right?
No.
Darius Slay.
They just re-signed him. Now he's asked for because that's right, him and Patricia hate each other, and
Right.
Slay has asked for a trade since they hired Patricia.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they re-signed him last year to that 4-year deal.
Yeah.
So this is the year 2. Is the real reason Aaron Rodgers got traded to the Jets is Kirby Joseph? That's a good possibility, Patty Grimes. Great take.
Well,
Who's
and
going to win the first
here
game?
to that point, those 2 Kirby Joseph interceptions in Detroit, it was this close. Aaron Rodgers short-armed those throws this much. He's lost a step. He's lost a little bit of zing, and you got young legs, a young guy like Kirby Joseph just getting there. So I think there might be something to that take that Kirby Joseph was instrumental, at least in pointing it out to the Packers and showing the Packers this guy's lost a step.
Aiden Hutchinson helped too.
Yeah, for sure. I love that he got a sack on him.
Yeah, he got a sack and a pick off of him this year.
He said on draft day, I can't wait to sack Aaron Rodgers.
And he got it.
And he got it. I love that.
In the only year he could. That's why the Eagles drafted the cornerback from Georgia, Ringos, because they need a backup option for Slay. Yes.
Right.
That's a good take. Facebook user, I watched Romo kick one game this season. I wouldn't be surprised if he gives Badgley a battle for the kicking job. You know what? The only reason why Jake Moody isn't a Lion is because the 49ers are stupid and took him in the 3rd round.
Right.
Say what you want. The last guy that was kicked earlier than the 3rd round was who? Sebastian Janikowski, a 20-year vet for the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah.
So unless Jake Moody plays 20 years and ends up 5th in the NFL scoring records.
Patty's got a hot take here. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets don't make the playoffs. Well, I'll tell you what, that's not so far-fetched. When you look at their first 6 games out of the gate, they easily could be 1-5. They got Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Buffalo. I mean,
don't they have the Ravens in that mix too?
I think, I don't know, but the first 6 games I know are absolutely brutal for the Jets.
And on the road in New England.
And they're playing in arguably the toughest division this year. Miami's had a great offseason. And if Tua can stay upright, they're going to make some noise. Of course, Buffalo Bills, the cream of the crop in the division. And you know what? Bill Belichick out there in New England, he always has a tough team. So there might be something to that. The Jets might miss the playoffs just because they don't win their division. If the Jets don't win their division, they could be in real danger of missing the playoffs because of all the other good teams. The AFC is loaded.
And AFC West and AFC East are the 2 best divisions in football.
Look at the AFC North. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh's going to be better. Cleveland's going to be better. The Ravens are going to be better.
They're all going to beat up on each other and be a middling team, though, is the problem. So the winner of that division gets in, is what I'm getting at.
Same thing with the AFC East, I think.
Right. Everybody got better. And it's just going to be the division. Buffalo probably stayed pretty stagnant because they kind of just replaced what they lost, but they didn't get better or worse.
Right. I'll go with that.
But they're still the cream of the crop in that division.
The Dolphins absolutely got better. The Dolphins had a great – they just signed another guard yesterday, I believe. So, I mean, and that's something we haven't mentioned. The Lions also still have $25 million.
Yeah, we can still make moves.
I mean, we can still afford a high-level impact player if it comes.
But wait, we haven't signed out everybody as far as rookie contracts. That's going to go down. I think I saw the other day after dead caps and the signings they've done, it's down to 18. So it's going to dwindle. We had 25 just before the draft. Let's get that cleared up. But that still means that we should, after signing everybody, we should have about 8-9 million left, considering you save about 4 to 5 million for signing people in case of injuries. We still got 4 or 5 million that we can play with and get that one last piece if we need it.
Ooh, here's a great take. Man, you have intelligent viewers, so much better than our show. Hoping Ragnow's toe injury is something that can be managed better than last year. If not, then the loss of Evan Brown will hurt that much worse. Facebook user, thank you for the comment. I will refer you. There's a great article in the Detroit Free Press right now that details Frank Ragnow's injury and what he had to go through last year. After going down in the first couple of weeks of 2021 and missing the rest of the season, in the very first game of 2022, he re-injured the foot. It is the plantar plate. So if you have plantar fasciitis, this is the plate that holds the tendon to the bottom of your foot. And he tore that right away from the bone. Okay. So that's why he missed all of 2021. He re-aggravated the injury in the first game of 2022 and played through the pain the rest of the year. This injury is not operable. Right. His choices are play through the pain or retire. Those are his choices. So I think the signing of Graham Glasgow was huge. The man can play center. Evan Brown, we called him everything Evan Brown because he could play all along the line. He's a great young player, and he went to where? Those damn Seahawks again. Took Evan Brown too. Yeah. So, okay. Again, why is that second game going to be so important? Because you could throw away that Kansas City game. So what? The Lions lost to the Chiefs. Big deal. But we got 11 games. We got 11 days to prepare to revenge that loss to an NFC team that's going to be right back in the thick of it at the end of the year as well. So very important. That damn Seattle game. I just can't get away from those Seahawks. Damn Pete Carroll.
Yeah, Mark Malik, I know you were. He messaged in my group when I was talking about the game that he was going. He says, I was at that last game in Lambeau last year. It was so amazing and awesome.
Yeah.
It would be.
We're calling it the Lambeau litter box now when we talk trash to the Packer fans.
Before we do any more comments, I want to get to my last topic because I think everybody will want to comment on this one. The smoking hot topic tonight is the Lions had a top 5 offense last season league-wide with a better running back room and less time missed by J-Mo. How did they not crack the top 10 this offseason for offense?
So you're asking me why aren't they ranked in the top 10?
Yes.
I think it's more about what other teams did rather than what the Lions didn't do. I think it's what other teams did. I didn't see. I thought they were ranked 5 was the ranking I saw. So I'm not sure where that ranking comes from, but you can take rankings and throw them out the window. I mean, this team is definitely going to be better just for those reasons that you said.
All right, and I'm going to say it's because these guys can't find their ass with their both hands on the map.
You mean the people that make the rankings?
Yes.
All right, I'll go with that take, Jeremy.
Because we have seen time and time again, oh, this player will go here. Why did he go in the 3rd round? This player will go here. Why did he go in the 6th round? This player will go here. Why did he go tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, right. Mel Kiper said Ryan Leaf would be better than Peyton Manning.
I remember.
So
he also said Tom Brady had a noodle arm and wouldn't last 2 years in the league.
And they said the Lions reached for Jahmyr Gibbs, and we will see if they will be right. I don't think they will be, and that's the only answer. If you've seen them ranked outside of the top 10, then I think that's just I think that's a fluke.
Yeah. Facebook user, if the Jets have a rough time, they're going to dog Rodgers hard in New York. Oh, it doesn't matter who it is. Remember how good Mark Sanchez was his first year, and then the butt fumble in the playoffs the second year? He never lived it down. The media ran him out of time. It wasn't the GM. It wasn't the coach.
Oh, Facebook user said that ranking was by Skip Bayless, who's a notorious dumbass.
No, yeah, okay.
He's a notorious dumbass. He picks wrong everything.
He always picks the Cowboys to go all the way to the
and the Lakers. He always picks the Lakers and the Cowboys. Yeah, he's a Cowboy fan. Now, Facebook user says they could see the Cardinals trading Kyler Murray if they aren't good. Well, Kyler Murray's hurt for the first 2/3 of the season anyway. He won't even be coming until the last trimester of the season. And they also just signed him to a giant guaranteed money contract that'll be extremely hard to trade.
Yeah, they can't trade him out of that 5-year contract. I think it's at the year 4 at the earliest is where they'll finally save money.
And besides that, they've lost everything. They have nothing left but Buda Baker.
Buda Baker wants out. And
he wants out.
And I
And
heard Isaiah Simmons, they didn't pick up the 5th-year option.
right.
Bring him home. Bring him to Detroit because we should have drafted him instead of Okuda anyways.
But are we going to need a linebacker?
Yes, he's not just a linebacker, though.
He's right. He's an off the ball pass rusher, too. Right.
And he's also a corner and a safety.
Like Brent DeWitt says, as soon as Gibbs starts burning everyone, they'll know their ranking is bullshit. I got to agree with that, Brent. If this kid turns out to be, all he's got to do is make one guy miss, and then you're seeing the back of his jersey. He's just too damn fast.
Yep. And Patty Grimes says Fox Sports commentator didn't have the Lions in the top 5 teams of the NFC. I think that's a crack smoker.
Wow. Well, in a way, though, isn't it? We're Lions fans, so we're biased, right? And on the outside looking in, it's got to be hard for some people to fathom the Lions as a contender. They just can't wrap their heads around it.
Do you remember why the Cardinals were so bad after they traded away Josh Rosen? Or cut Josh Rosen, whatever they did? Because they had no cap room. They had to wait 2 years to do anything. And then that's when they got DeAndre Hopkins. That's when they got Kyler Murray. That's when they started signing some good free agents like J.J. Watt and James Conner and all them. It took them 2 years to recover financially. They're not going to do that again with Kyler Murray. Yeah, I agree with that one too, Big Dan. Gibbs is going to make up for the loss of J-Mo in the first 6 weeks with his speed, his ability as a wide receiver. The offense will be fine.
I love that take, Big Dan.
Well, here's the thing. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the year he was drafted, was the 8th best wide receiver on the board, and he just kept falling. It was the guy everybody wanted the Lions to take in the 2nd round. Who'd we take? Levi Onwuzurike and Aleem McNeil in the 2nd round. He fell. And when he was there with our pick in the 4th round, Brad Holmes looked at Sheila and said, this is where we get our wide receiver. And if you ask Amon-Ra today, you ask this little motherfucker right here today.
Patty says they have the Cowboys and the Vikings ranked over the Lions. So that should tell you right there. I mean, the Vikings have lost all of their good players. How can they possibly have an offense ranked over the Lions? They're not going to have Dalvin Cook. They've lost Adam Thielen. They've lost all major pieces on defense. I don't see how anybody can think that team is going to have a better offense than the Detroit Lions. It's absurd.
Patty Grimes says the shirt she wants made is Goffamania.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to write that down.
Or who's going to stop this Goffense? I like that one too.
The Goffense is a registered trademark of the Main Event 365. Always.
It is
2022.
Sorry. Where is Dalvin Cook going? Anywhere but Minnesota.
Miami.
I don't think they need him now.
Yeah, he's going to Miami. It's his hometown. They're going to release him, so he'll be free to sign with anyone that'll take him. And they're building something down there in Miami. That's where, mark my words, Facebook user, Dalvin Cook will end up in Miami with the Dolphins.
Hey, I've got the take of the century on why they traded for Aaron Rodgers. Because Zach Wilson is just as much of a diva and a moody little bitch just like him, and they needed somebody to mold him.
Looks like the main event's in the chat. Says, I love that Glasgow plays center, snapping the ball old school style. You know how he puts that finger on the nose of the ball, snaps it old school style. Thanks for the comment. That's got to be our illustrious producer, the maestro, Russell Wayne.
What's up, Russ? How bad you want to see Jordan Love look like Zach Wilson?
Great take.
I want to see him look like Mac Jones year 2.
I am a guy. That's my nickname. Sorry, Patty. It's also my middle name. So my apologies. It's happened to me before.
Yep. I think the defense is going to surprise a lot of people. I don't think so. I think this defense is a lot better than people gave it credit for. They kept focusing on those first 7 games, the 1-6 stretch. Everybody focused on that. And they focused on it so much because we were at the bottom. And then by the end of the season, lo and behold, the Lions didn't have the worst defense. In order for do that in a 10-game stretch when you were historically bad for 7 games, to go up 5 spots to 27th in scoring, 28 in overall yardage against. You know what you had to play as? A top 15 defense. I did the math. So our defense was nowhere near as bad as everybody thought it was. It was Aubrey Pleasant. It is horrific defensive passing game calling.
Right. Love it. All you need is love. How about love stinks?
Yeah. That's what they'll play by week 6 if they're 0-6.
That's the drop you need when you hit your little podcast machine.
I believe you guys asked this before, but for the rest of the viewers, how much are you guys okay with paying Goff in potential extension? I'm going to give you my hot take on that. Hendon Hooker was drafted in the 3rd round to be a $850 to $1.1 million per year quarterback to look at Goff and say, hey, I love what you've done here, but guess what? You're not going to make more than you make right now if you want to stay here, and we're only signing you to 3 years.
That's what you would tell Jared Goff?
That is what I would tell Jared Goff right now.
Okay, well, I am Big Dan. I think you know where I stand on this. I'm all about extending Goff right now. I think for there are multiple reasons you extend him now, and that is his value right now is less than it's going to be after he takes this team to the NFC Championship game. So it's going to cost you more next year to extend him than it will right now. Also, if you extend him cheaper right now, that makes him tradable, more easily tradable for the scenario you laid out, Jeremy. It makes it a better situation for a team to receive Goff and give back more in capital because the hit isn't going to be as big on them salary-wise. So I love the idea of extending Goff. Make no mistake about it. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell believe they have their franchise quarterback in Jared Goff. Sign him now, lock it up. Do it before he demands $50 million a year.
Or 45 or whatever.
Yeah, right. Right.
I think if you signed him right now, we could get him at what he's making, practically. 35 to 37 million, and do it for a 3 or 4 year extension. And you backload the fucking guaranteed money. And everybody says, well, why would you do that? Why? Because let's say he gets to the playoffs and he has that Super Bowl game. Just throwing it out there.
What? No. You mean 2 dropped touchdown passes that would have won the game? Yeah, okay. I'll take it.
No, but he also had 2 picks in that game, too, that were costly. So that being said, there was 3 because Brandon Cooks dropped 1 in the end zone. He dropped 1 where he had nobody around him for 10 yards, wide open, 40 yards down the field as well. Everybody forgets about that one. And then the tight end dropped 1. So, yes, I do know about all 3 drop passes that cost the game for the Rams in a 10-3 game, possibly the worst Super Bowl to watch in Super Bowl history.
And Big Dan Davis just paraphrased everything we said, but much better than we said it. So thank you about that, Big Dan. And I love this this take here. Nobody wants to trade for Goff with an expiring contract.
Right. Well, I've been saying. That's why I said now.
Expiring contracts get a bad rap like pyramid schemes, though. In the right situation, that's exactly what the team wants. When you got an expiring contract of a guy that's on the downward trend, whose arrow is pointing down, you can capitalize on that.
If Sam Laporta can't block, does Dan Campbell suit up again?
What, man? What, man? You're still put on the uniform, man, I'll tell you.
Man, I'll tell you, I've been feeling pretty good. I've been using that Nugenics.
He says, I don't see Goff giving a hometown discount, but it'd be nice if he did. Well,
yep.
You can't blame a man for trying to get paid. I don't blame anyone. But I think Brad Holmes is one step ahead of all of that. He's built a salary cap model that is fluid, that is interchangeable. As one position expires, another one renews, and he's constantly rotating them in and out. He's doing it the right way, not overpaying for veterans. And if he does overpay for a veteran, it's on a 1 year. DJ Chark, obviously, we saw $10 million. He wasn't worth $10 million. Okay. And CJ Gardner-Johnson on a 1 year deal. We'll see if he's worth the money they've given him there. But, it's prove it time. And he's just worked this. And in the meantime, he drafts so well, and you've got those 3 and 4 year windows with young players that you can really start to stack the depth at places so that as one guy leaves, the other guy's ready to come back in. And we've seen that. We saw the San Francisco 49ers do that in the 2000s. So it can be culminating in 2019. So it's been proven that it can be done in that way.
That's true. But at the same time, the expiring contract, the reason why most teams don't trade, you don't get as much trade value back, is the only thing you don't get. He's still a tradable commodity, but instead of 2 firsts, you might be getting like a first and a third, or a second and a fourth, rather than a first at all, because it's an expiring contract. It's a 1-year rental player. Gardner Johnson was brought in because their target was Brian Branch to begin with, which essentially is the exact same safety coming out of college with a better tackle rate. He's there to guide Branch to be a better player.
Pat wants your prediction for Lions Chiefs.
Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Lions are winning that game. It's going to be close. They're only going to win it by 4 at the most.
Right. Lions are right now a 6-point. They're a 6.5-point underdog to the Chiefs right now. Is the line. I say take the Lions and the points, but I think the Lions lose a close one. I think they lose on a last-second field goal or a last-second score, and they lose that game.
Facebook.
Hope I'm wrong. I'm wrong a lot. That works well in our favor.
Facebook user agrees with me. Lions 34, Chiefs 30. I said a 4-point win, didn't I?
You did.
I don't think.
Love it. Holmes Campbell duo is going to be amazing for decades to come. I don't know about decades, but decade, I believe.
Yeah. Chiefs 38, Fords 10.
Nice.
Oh. Yeah,
you're fired, LOL. Who's fired? You can't fire Jeremy from his own show.
Nope. Can't do it. Can't fire Mike either, because this is our show that we talked about 2 weeks ago, and I said,
"Nobody paying me, man. You can't fire me when I ain't getting paid."
Yeah, we ain't getting paid. We're doing this because we love it.
I'm just doing it for a plug, and I like you, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's great.
But I like your audience. Your audience is awesome.
Thank you. Are you guys going to any games this year? I'm going to Raiders at Lions on Monday night for sure. I don't know if I'll make that one, but I think I'm going week 2 to see Seattle again. That being said, this is the time of night when I'm going to let Mike talk about himself. Where can they find your content?
Where can they find my content? It's called The Main Event. The Main Event 365 is 365 days a year talking about football, NFL football, specifically Detroit Lions football. The Main Event airs on the main stage. It's open mic night on the main stage every Monday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. We talk about Detroit Lions, and we welcome you to come on the show. We welcome you to come into the comments, leave us a question. And then at 7 o'clock, that's when the real fun begins. It's the NFC North open mic night. All 4 teams in the NFC North are represented: Vikings, Packers, Bears, and Lions. And we talk a lot of trash. And bring your thick skin. It's not for the faint of heart. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But we'd love you to go over to our YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Main Event, or follow our page. Just like we follow Jeremy, we hope you'll follow us as well. And it's been a privilege to be on the show today, Jeremy, and I appreciate you and your viewers. Thank you very much.
Yep, and that would be one of the Cook boys. I'm going to Dallas. I believe it's Brendan. My dad is a lifetime Cowboy. It might even be Quinn, for that matter, because them boys are real good Lions fans. I'm going to Fords versus Dodge.
I don't get that one. Who's Dodge?
I don't know, because Ford's in Detroit and so is Dodge.
We are actually talking about renting a bus and going down to the Monday Night Raider game. Big Dan will have to meet up with you if we do that. We do a main event, or if you want to get in on that, Dan, I don't know where you live, but it's about an hour for me to the Ford Field. But are you in on that, Jeremy? If we also get the cost, it'd be pretty cheap. We could take a nice contingent.
Message me the cost on that for me.
I will. And we're also talking about maybe going September 7th to opening day at Arrowhead as an away game. So it's what I'm looking at.
I can't do that one, but I can do the Monday night game.
I've never been to a Lions away game. Yeah, you know,
I
work,
went
kids, so much
when
stuff. Never been able to do that. That would be amazing.
I lived in Tampa. And
Well, I take that back. I lived in Tampa and saw the Buccaneers play the Lions, so I
yeah,
guess that counts. But I
that
lived there,
counts.
and it wasn't like an away game.
I did the same thing. From 98 and 99, I was living in Tampa.
Oh, right on. I was raised there 10 years. You write actually for the South Florida Tribune, don't you?
Right. They own the Motor City Tribune. So, yes, I write for technically the South Florida Tribune.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
My,
So,
the way you find my content is, he just mentioned it, the southfloridatribune.com. On the left-hand side in the red bar, you will see 3 little hash marks. If you hit that, you will see the Motor City Tribune. There's a drop-down menu. You can find my name in the list of authors with my publisher, Scott Morganroth, a longtime Detroit writer, George Eichhorn, and a slew of other authors. You can also find me, of course, on this channel. Jeez, imagine that. Me having a show on my own channel. Kneecap Biting with Smokin Jeremy B. You can also find me on Facebook at Motor City Kneecap Biters, and you can find me at Smokin Jeremy B on Twitter.
and to answer Mark's question, how do you find the main event on YouTube? You at the main event 365.
Yep.
At the main event 365, and we should come right up on YouTube. Thanks for asking. You done with me, Jeremy?
If you are ready to go, sir, you can head out. I'm going to say goodnight to everybody and give a shout out to my sponsor. And I'm eventually going to try to get us sponsors for this show.
You're going to try to what?
Get sponsors for this show.
Oh, right on.
And I also want to plug that going forward, starting next week on Let's Talk Sports Network, I get to interview former players Friday nights at 8 and Sundays at 2 until the season begins.
Awesome. And I know your group is gaining some traction too. It's Motor City Kneecap Biters.
Yeah.
And encourage everyone to. I'm a member of that group. It's a lot of fun being in that group. You guys post a lot of great content over there too. So kind of partners with, not partners, but marketing partners with the main event. So we love supporting each other. We're all Lions fans. We're all one big family. So one pride, my friend. Thanks again for having me.
One pride. Thank you, everybody, for coming into the chat. And remember to try every day to be a better person than you were the day before, because that's the only way to make the world a better place. And I want to give my thanks out to my sponsor, A1 Tires, Gloss Negron, the window tinter there at A1 Tire Cacolin. He does a great job. He tinted my car. He'll tint yours too. Any car, all the windows, $200. You can't beat it. Does a great job. It looks fantastic. That's it.